Hello, children and grandchildren. This morning, Grandpa's going to give you your first toolbox with a set of tools in it that should help you not only to repair things or fix things yourself, but also to help friends who might need some help. And you would need to know how to use certain tools. And this is important for both boys and girls. Let's get started. And the first item is hammer. This is a small hammer for small nails. They make bigger hammers for bigger nails. But this is for small nails and very simple devices. And you know how to use a hammer. You pound on something, right? Yes, very good. Very good. All right. Now, this is a saw. It is for cutting wood or soft material. You must be careful with this edge because this edge is sharp, just as long as you're careful with it. All right, next item. Screwdriver. Large. This is for what's called a common screw. It has a common blade and it's for turning screws like this. And there's an old saying that goes, righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. Can you remember that? That's a funny saying, isn't it? Righty, when you're turning to the right, you're making the screw go tight. When you're turning to the left, it makes it go loose. So it's righty-tighty, loosey-goosey. All right. Now, here is a smaller screwdriver for smaller screws. It is also a common screwdriver because it has a slot. It is slotted. See it? It's been well used over the years. Pliers. These are called common pliers. And they're adjustable. They can go big or they can go small. Aren't they nice and shiny? And they're for holding things tight if you need to hold them tight and you can't hold them with your fingers. Here's a slightly different kind of pliers. These are called gas pump pliers. Now, you would say, isn't that a strange name? And yes, it is a strange name. And it is from way back. I don't know why they call them gas pump pliers, but they do. And they're made in a different way, but they effectively do the same thing. They hold stuff tight when you're working. Now look at this. Look at this. Here, the one I just showed you, and here's another one. Here is another one. And it is the same thing. And it's adjustable. Look at that, how that works. Look at how that works. It works. It is adjustable, but it's a larger version of the same thing. And it's for doing the same thing, holding things very tightly when you're working on them. This is a magnet. Maybe you've never seen anything like this before, but it is a very interesting and very helpful item when you're working. Now, how does it work? It only works with metal. And let me show you how. This is a metal blade. Watch it. Watch it how it works. Look at that. It sticks to it. It gets close. Oh, and it grabs right onto it, almost by magic. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? It's because this is made from a particular kind of metal that is magnetic, and it grabs hold of anything that's metal. Now, let me show you an interesting thing. Look at this. Look at that. And Grandpa can be way back here, and I can reach way out there and get something. It is, and then it can all the way back. Or if you're going to maybe describe something to someone, and you need to point to it, you can use this for a pointer. Like if you were at a blackboard or a whiteboard and you had drawn something on the board and you wanted to point to it, you could. And you could point to it. You could point to it. And so that the people would understand it. All right? Very good. Now, let's see. What else do we have? Oh, here's an interesting item. Here is a very interesting item. Very interesting. Not very big, but it's very interesting. And look at this little hook it has right here. Little hook. It's for opening a paint can. It can't be used for much of anything else, but it can be used to take it down, put it underneath the lid, and pry the lid up. Now, you must be careful because many of these cans that have these kind of lids have paint inside. So you must be careful when you take the lid off that you don't spill the paint. Okay, we will cover painting at some later time, and it will be fun too. All right. Now, this is a pair of wire cutters. They have only one use, just for cutting wire. And see how they come together? Oh, very tight. Very tight. This is a spool. This is a spool of wire. And this is what cuts the wire. See it? It cuts it nice and square, very firmly. Yes. You must always leave on a spool of wire, you must always leave a little bit sticking out, because if it goes back down inside all the way, it's very hard to get hold of the end of it. So that's something to remember. You always want to leave a little bit sticking out, and it won't hurt anything. It will store away very nicely. And here is the piece of wire that we cut off, and it is just the right length for what we want to use it for. Wire cutter. Now, you remember just a little while ago, Grandpa showed you a large screwdriver, a large one. It's large. Note the big head it has on it. It's for common screws, ones with just a slot. Here are its little buddies. These are its little buddies. They are all screwdrivers, and they all have separate uses. Just like the big one was for big screws. Here's a little one. Here is a little one for little screws. And you know what it's called? What does it look like? What do you think it looks like? It's called a stubby because it is stubby. It's a little short one, nice and short, but it still turns common screws. Now, if you have to get a long way away from the screw, you need one that's real long. And that's what you use a screwdriver like this for. Now, this is funny because there are some screws that don't have slotted heads. They don't have slotted heads. They have a different kind of head. And let's see if Grandpa has any of these in here. Let me see. Let me see here. Oh, yes, Grandpa has some. Grandpa has some. This is called a Phillips head. And I got it out there as close to you as I can so you can see it. Do you see? It has a different kind of head, and it's the kind of head that fits into this like this. Do you see that? Do you see that there? It's a different kind of screwdriver, and it has a name. It's named after the man who invented it. And his name was Phillips. And this is called a Phillips screwdriver. And this is called a Phillips head. Isn't that interesting? And it is very usable. Very usable. Now, here's a different kind of, here is a different kind of screw. It has a slot which this fits into very, very nicely for turning it in and turning it out. Fits very nicely. See how that works? But look at the head. It has what's called a hex head. Can you see it? See that there? It's called a hex head. Now, here's the interesting thing. Oh, here it is buried. Here is what's called an adjustable wrench because it can be adjusted in. Do you see that going in, or out? And it can be adjusted. It can be adjusted to fit a head like this, so that, and Grandpa's going to have to really reach to be able to show you this, so that it fits right around this head like that. Look at that. Look at that. And then it can be turned using this wrench, an adjustable wrench. And this is the smallest adjustable wrench. It is the smallest one. Now, this is the next size bigger. And then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they can be this long, and they're adjustable. Isn't that interesting? All of these tools, you may, at some time, you may use them. But since you're not great big, you use the little ones to start with. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, We're all done. And Grandpa's going to put these all back in the box for you. Well, Grandpa's so happy to give you your first toolbox with a set of tools that I hope you'll be able to use. And I hope you'll think of me each time you use the tools. But if you forget, you just give Grandpa a call. Grandpa will talk to you anytime.